Hi beauty, so I just wanted to come on here real quick. This is my third time recording this video that you're about to watch. I just wanted to come on here real fast and say in no way, shape, or form is this video intended for clickbait. I'm not lying in this video to try to get views. This is just real factual events of my life that I wanted to kind of share with you guys. Besides this channel being about beauty and fashion and cleaning and whatever the case may be, I just kind of wanted to be a little transparent with you guys and let you in a little bit on my life. If you like these type of videos, please make sure you comment below. If you want to see more videos like this, or if you have questions for me pertaining to this topic, please DM me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is at ladyb_beauty34. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, so please just be nice about this video. I know people these days kind of like try to tear you apart and pick everything apart about you and what you say and do. So just know that this video was not created with ill intentions, and that I hope you guys can understand where I'm coming from. And it took me a long time to record this. I've recorded this 3 times because I didn't want to post it, but one of my friends was like, you need to do it, you need to do it. I have so much more that I could say pertaining to this topic. So like I said, if you want to see more, just let me know. So let's get into the video. Hi beauties, welcome back to my channel, all about beauty with Lady B. If you've already read the title, then you already know what we're going to be discussing today. I actually cannot believe it that I'm sitting here about to make this video for you guys. To be quite honest, it's actually kind of embarrassing, and I'm just being really transparent with you guys. And I'm gonna just kind of dive in and let you know a little bit about my background that some of you might not know. So, well, let's get into this. As you can tell by the title, I didn't know that I was black and till I was about 12 years old, and I'll tell you why and how this came about. I was actually home one day during the summer, and I was watching Oprah, and she had mixed people on her channel, biracial people on her channel, to talk about this topic about whether they choose if they're black or white, depending on whatever it is that they feel. I remember at this time, Halle Berry had come out, I believe. It was either not Tyra Banks, because she's not biracial, but it was somebody, I'm pretty sure it was Halle Berry, had come out and said that she identified as black. And so this was kind of like what stemmed the topic of the show. Anyways, so like I was saying, I was sitting at home one day. It was during the summer. I was about 12 years old. I was watching Oprah Winfrey's show, and she had multiracial people on the channel to discuss how they identified and, you know, what it was like in their lives being biracial. I grew up in a white family. My mom is white, my biological father is black, and my stepdad is white. So my mom and my biological father separated, and my mom and I moved to Florida. And she married my stepdad, and so I just grew up from age 4 years old on up as pretty much a white child in a white family. The reason why I didn't know that I was black was because my family never talked about color. Like, my mom never talked about color, my dad never talked about color. Like, we just didn't talk about it. And I guess just being like a young, naive child, like, I didn't pay attention to stuff like that. Like, I really feel like racism is something that is taught to you. So with that being said, we just never talked about it. But on the downside of that is I didn't get to experience black culture because I didn't have, well, I have black family, but I wasn't around my black family, you know what I mean? So I didn't get to experience black culture. I only knew what it was like to experience life as a white child. So let's get back to the Oprah show. So that day when I was watching Oprah Winfrey's show, I went into the bathroom and I remember looking in the mirror at myself and I was just like, you're not white, like, you're black. You're more than one race, like you're two races. And I just remember looking at myself for the longest time, and I think I started crying because that was when I had the revelation of my identity. I want to rewind just a little bit because I am not creating this video to bring hate or negativity towards my mother, my stepfather, or my biological father. Everybody has a different story. My family just happened to be a broken family, and you know, my biological father wasn't around. I can't say it's because he didn't want to be or that he didn't try hard enough. I don't know, because now that I'm an adult parent, I see things as an adult parent, but I also have experienced those things as a child. So I can't say whether or not he did or didn't try. And all I know is that my mom and my stepdad did the best that they could, and I'm grateful for them doing what they could, you know. I don't expect white people to be able to teach a child how to be something that they aren't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't expect my white parents to teach me how to be black if they're not black. But I do expect for my mom and my stepdad to have sat down with me and had hard talks about Black culture and Black History Month, and you know, people treating you differently because of the race of your skin, and like those kind of conversations we didn't have. I have those conversations with my daughter now. Like, when we go to the library, there's a whole section dedicated to African Americans, and she doesn't really like to read, period, but I make her pick a book from that section each time so that we can read and learn about somebody in the African American history and culture. And you know, I don't know, I feel like I'm kind of going all over the place because I had an idea of how I wanted this video to go, but it's just so much information that it's probably going to have to be a series. If there are some questions that you guys have for me that you want me to answer, message me on Instagram. My Instagram name is ladyb_beauty34. Just DM me and like ask me questions to address here on this on my YouTube channel, because there's so much information that I can give y'all about what it was like growing up biracial, what it was like growing up in a white household, like so much information. So please, I apologize if this video seems like I'm kind of all over the place right now, because I probably am. Growing up, when we moved from Ohio to Florida, my mother wanted to make sure that I didn't experience any type of racism. So we lived, when we first moved to Florida, we lived with my aunt and uncle for a period of time. But we primarily lived like in the city of Gainesville, Florida. Even though Gainesville still is kind of country, it's a lot more cultured than a lot of other places. Florida in itself is kind of like a multicultural state because you have so many different nationalities, like Hispanic, Haitian, Cuban, Latino, Asian, Indian, Native American, African American, white, like so much. And I feel really blessed to be able to have grown up in Florida, to be able to experience all different nationalities, all different cultures. But like I was saying, my mom made sure that I went to school in the city because she was afraid for me to experience racism, because where we lived was about 30 minutes out in the country, away from the city, like out in a rural area where it was racist. So my mom didn't want me to experience that, and I think because of her protecting me from that, and then us not talking about skin color, like I was just kind of oblivious to it, and I didn't know, you know, what racism was, or this person's brown, so they're this, and this person's white, so they're this, you know, like, we just didn't talk about it. So yeah, but I will say I did have some confusion and identity crisis, kind of. So like whenever I realized that I was black, you know, growing up, I used to always ask my mom, like, did you adopt me? Like, am I really your kid? Because, you know, I'm in a white household, and I called my stepdad my dad. Like, if people ask me who my dad was, I'm like, that's my dad. And they're like, okay, so you must be adopted because both your parents are white and you're obviously brown. So I got that quite a bit. So I did experience like identity crisis. Like the church that we went to growing up, there was no black people in that church at all. It was all white people. I was the only, I think there was one other black person. It was a black man who was married to a white woman. So like I was the only kind of color up in there. So that was just like kind of different because I just grew up always being the black sheep. Like even in my family, like growing up, I was the only biracial child. All of my family was white on my mom's side. We would go to Ohio on vacation sometimes, and I would get to see my black family. My mom did make sure that she always took me to see my grandmother and my sisters and stuff like that. So I will give my mom, you know, credit for that. She definitely made sure that I got to see the other side of my family. Like I have always said, just kind of like experiencing a identity crisis, like, well, what am I? And like trying to get to know the other half of me. So the way that I was able to experience African American culture was through my daughter's father. We started dating when we were in 9th or 10th grade. We met when we were in 8th grade. We met before that. We met when we were 12 years old. But anyways, make a long story short, because this is not about our story. The point that I'm trying to make is I kind of grew up, you know, with him in school. And so like just being around his family taught me black culture, like African American culture, stuff that I didn't know. Like I learned how to cook. I remember his cousin, she always was teaching me how to cook. I tried collard greens and turnip greens for the first time when I was with, you know, him, with his family. Like they didn't ever have like a birthday party or celebrate any kind of holiday without having like 3 different pots of greens. My daughter just passed me a note because I'm in my room making a video. Let me see what it says. It says, "Mommy, I need your phone for the TV." Kids, you know, the struggle is real. They always need mommy. But anyways, so yeah, like we never had any kind of holidays or anything without having several different types of greens. Like I learned to love greens because I never grew up having them. The kind of greens that my mom used to make was out of the can. It was just like turnip greens out of the can. We never had like real collard greens. And I remember his cousins, like when I got older, when I first learned how to cook greens, his cousin's husband, he worked like in the fields, and they would always bring me like bushels of collard greens that I could like freshly cut up myself and wash and everything to make my own greens. So his family definitely was a big impact for my life. And when I got to be around them and noticing how they had such a big family and everybody came together for the holidays and for birthdays and stuff, like that was something I didn't have. I was the only child growing up at home. I did have other older siblings, but we had such a age gap that I didn't get to grow up with them, so I didn't get to have that big family. When Paris's dad and I would go to church, you would pull up to the church parking lot and you could hear the music from outside. Like you could hear the music from down the road because that's how loud it was. Like I would literally leave with a headache because they were tearing down the church with some music. Like they were having church, okay? So just experiencing church at an African American church, y'all, if you've never experienced it, it's so good. Like take you some snacks because you're gonna be there for a long time. But it is it's an experience, and I honestly, like, it just means so much to me that I've been able to experience all of that, and I pray that my daughter will be able to experience her African American culture as well, and experience some of the things that I've got to learn. And I hope that I can pass down those things that I've learned to her. And this video is not to say that I don't love my white side or anything like that. I do, but like I grew up with that, you know? And so like when you grow up without having the other half of your identity and then you find it, like you almost can't get enough of it. So I think sometimes it does bother my family if I say, like, I'm black. They're like, well, you're just as much white as you are black. Yes, that's true. I agree. I do not choose one side over the other. I'm grateful to be here. We got another note up under the door. I'm grateful to be from two different races. Honestly, I wish I had a little bit more in me. I want to take one of those DNA tests so I can see what all my background has. But I just wanted to make this video and share my experience with you guys. Like I said, I have so much more that I could tell, but I'm kind of like freezing up and trying to think like what to tell you right now. Another thing is growing up, I remember in elementary school I only had 2 black friends. Most of my friends were white. You know, we went to a white church. My family was white. I just was always surrounded with white people and just never talked about my race, and I didn't know that I was black. It didn't hit me, like I said, it didn't hit me until I was 12 years old that I was African American, but it didn't hit me the importance of acknowledging the fact that I was African American until I got pregnant with my daughter. It became more real to me when I was growing a human inside of me that was predominantly black. So I used to work at this oral surgery office in Gainesville, and I just remember the girls that I worked with, they would say, you know, some racial things, and we would either just like laugh it off or I just wouldn't say anything. You know, I just was like, you know, whatever. I've met ignorant people before, but it just didn't bother me. But when I got pregnant with Paris, my daughter, and I realized that I had something to stand for and something to fight for, then it bothered me. Then when the racial comments or slurs would come, I would get pissed and I would get offended. You know, it was one thing to like sit there and just say stuff, you know, like people say ignorant stuff all the time, but it just felt like I had to stand up and fight and make my opinion known. So I quit working there because of the racial slurs and the things that they would say. I did try to talk to the doctor. He pretty much told me to just, you know, ignore it and just stay and, you know, keep working there and just ignore it and be the bigger person. But I think it's easier said than done, especially when you aren't black yourself and you don't understand what the discrimination feels like.